Welcome to Breaking News to Trading Moves.
Glad to be here.
Imagine paying 10% more for your favorite pair of jeans.
Right.
And instead of walking away to find a cheaper alternative, you just happily swipe your card.
Which sounds crazy, but it happens.
It does, and that exact consumer behavior just sent a jolt through the stock market. So our mission for you today is exploring the latest apparel market news, specifically looking at a major headline that just dropped.
Yeah, we've got some very specific data to go through.
Exactly. We are breaking down the exact winners and losers across the sector based on this new data. We have a lot of ground to cover regarding consumer behavior, so let us jump right into the core news.
Let's do it.
So Levi Strauss, ticker LEVI, has rallied.
It did, yeah.
They just put out a report that really caught the market's attention, and we need to understand the mechanics behind it.
Well, the figures driving this rally are genuinely compelling. Levi reported its strongest quarterly revenue growth in nearly 4 years.
Oh, wow, 4 years.
Yeah, it's a solid metric on its own. But the underlying drivers are what really matter for you as an investor or just an observer of the retail space.
Right, what's actually causing the bump.
Exactly. This growth was driven by a very distinct fashion trend, which is the current consumer demand for baggy jeans.
Baggy jeans are back.
They really are. And beyond that, they saw stronger digital sales. And those digital sales were specifically aimed at younger customers.
Okay, so a younger demographic buying online.
Yes. But financially, there is a crucial metric buried in the data. Levi showed enough pricing power to offset roughly 10% U.S. import tariff costs.
Wait, let us pause right there, because absorbing a 10% tariff cost is no small feat for any retailer.
Not at all. It's actually incredibly difficult.
Right. I mean, to maintain profit margins when your costs jump that drastically, a company only has a few options.
Yeah, they usually have to cut costs elsewhere.
Or usually they have to pass that cost on to the consumer. So for Levi to offset a 10% tariff cost means they raise their prices. And their customers actually paid that higher price without walking away to a competitor.
They stayed loyal. Yeah.
And because of that demonstrated pricing power, shares of Abercrombie and Fitch, Nike, and Ralph Lauren all moved higher in sympathy with Levi's report.
Exactly right. The market sees one major player successfully navigating higher costs through raw pricing power, and, it immediately starts looking for other companies with similar characteristics.
And you want to see who else can pull that off.
Right. Investors want to know who else can raise prices without alienating their core customer base.
I think the best way to visualize this pricing power is actually to look at the tech world.
Oh, sure.
It is like Apple moving from the iPhone 14 to the iPhone 15.
That's a great comparison.
Right, because the raw materials did not get vastly more expensive, but the brand's gravity is so incredibly strong that they can bump the price up, and the line outside the store does not shrink.
People just pay it.
Yeah, people are paying full price because the specific product is exactly what they want. They are not there for a bargain. They are there for the exact item.
That's it, exactly.
So Levi is achieving that hardware-level pricing power, but with denim.
That analogy perfectly captures the dynamic. The market is currently rewarding brands that can hold their pricing, reduce their discounting, and still keep consumer demand healthy.
Because discounts kill margins.
Oh, absolutely. When you reduce discounting, you are protecting your profit margins. You are no longer sacrificing your bottom line just to clear out unwanted inventory.
You train the customer differently.
Exactly. You are training the consumer that your product is worth full price.
Which naturally leads us to look at the beneficiaries of this trend.
The winners, yeah.
Right. Based on the data, the clear winners here are premium apparel brands with strong brand equity, where the customer base is willing to pay full price.
Right, the ones holding their ground.
Yeah. We are talking specifically about ticker LEVI, which is Levi Strauss, and ticker RL, which is Ralph Lauren.
Both very strong legacy brands.
Yes, both of these companies have cultivated a brand image that commands a premium. But let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Quick, go for it.
I am looking at the broader macroeconomic data for you. Rent is up, groceries are up, car insurance is up.
Yeah, everything costs more.
Right. So are we really supposed to believe consumers are prioritizing premium clothing over basic bills, or is this just a temporary blip?
Well, that is the exact tension puzzling many economists right now. And it is a completely valid pushback.
It just feels counterintuitive.
It does. You would assume apparel is the first line item cut from a strained household budget.
Yeah.
But what we are observing is a variation of the lipstick effect applied to specific apparel categories.
The lipstick effect.
Yeah. When certain consumers feel locked out of major purchases, like buying a home or a new car, they tend to redirect their disposable income towards smaller, premium status symbols.
Oh, I see. So it's a consolation prize.
Sort of, yeah. A premium pair of jeans or a high-end sweater becomes an attainable luxury. When a shopper feels a strong connection to a brand like Levi's or Ralph Lauren, the apparel becomes less of a discretionary purchase and more of a staple in their mind.
They justify the cost.
Exactly. They will absorb a slight price increase because buying a generic or lesser-known brand does not fulfill that same psychological desire.
So brand loyalty is acting as a literal shield against broader economic pressures.
It really is.
It is all about perceived value. If the perceived value of the brand is high enough, the actual price tag becomes secondary. But let's talk about Ralph Lauren for a second. They've been around forever.
They have.
Why are they suddenly winning alongside trendy baggy jeans?
Well, they executed a textbook brand elevation strategy over the last few years.
How so?
Previously, you could find Ralph Lauren polo shirts heavily marked down in the back of almost any mid-tier department store.
Oh, right, on the clearance racks.
Exactly. But they deliberately pulled their inventory out of those discount-driven environments. They tightened their distribution, focused on their own stores, and stopped relying on constant sales.
They made it exclusive again.
Yes, they restricted supply to elevate the perceived demand, and it worked beautifully. They retrained their customer to expect to pay full price.
That is a masterclass in margin protection.
It really is impressive.
So if premium brands are successfully shielding themselves, we have to ask who is actually driving these full-price sales right now.
That's the big question.
Right. The data points heavily toward younger demographics driving these digital sales, which brings us to another category of winners' youth-focused apparel brands.
Yes, absolutely. Levi benefited immensely from trend-led products, specifically the baggy jeans we mentioned earlier, combined with online strength.
They hit the demographic perfectly.
They did. They successfully captured Gen Z and Millennial demand. And because they did, investors are actively looking for other youth-focused apparel names that can capture this exact demographic demand.
They want to replicate that formula.
Exactly. They are looking for that combination of trend-led merchandise and a frictionless digital shopping experience.
And the specific winners identified in the data for this youth momentum category are ticker ANF, which is Abercrombie and Fitch, and ticker AEO, which is American Eagle Outfitters.
Both very strong with that age group.
Let us look closely at Abercrombie and Fitch for a moment. They are fascinating to watch right now.
Oh, their turnaround has been incredible.
It really has. They completely overhauled their merchandise over the last few years. I mean, if you remember the Abercrombie of the early 2000s, it was all heavy logos, dark stores, and loud music.
And very strong cologne.
Yes, so much cologne. But now they have pivoted to exactly what Gen Z wants to buy online. Tailored fits, elevated basics, and a massive digital presence.
Right.
They are providing the exact trend-led products the market is rewarding.
That is absolutely correct. Their transformation proves that the right product can still win in a highly selective consumer market.
It's not just about the clothes, though, is it?
No, not at all. They did not just change their clothing, they changed how they managed their inventory.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they use incredibly sophisticated algorithms to spot trends quickly and manufacture smaller batches of those trendy items.
So they don't overproduce.
Exactly. If a younger shopper sees exactly what they want on a brand's app, they are going to complete the checkout process at full retail price.
Because they know it might sell out.
Right. That eliminates the need to rely on clearance racks to move stale designs later on.
So when one major apparel company proves this kind of demand is resilient, it creates a psychological boost for the broader sector.
It definitely lifts the mood.
Right. Investors naturally extend that optimism to other large U.S.-listed fashion and footwear companies, because if the consumer is strong enough to buy jeans, the logic dictates they're strong enough to buy sneakers and jackets, too.
Precisely. And this broader optimism specifically benefits brands with massive direct-to-consumer exposure.
DTC.
Yeah, direct-to-consumer, or DTC, is the ultimate margin enhancer. When a brand sells directly through its own website or its own retail stores, it bypasses the wholesale middlemen entirely.
They cut out the department store.
Exactly. It controls the pricing, it controls the presentation, and most importantly, it keeps the entire profit margin.
Let us break that margin concept down a bit further for clarity.
Okay, sure.
If a company sells a $100 pair of shoes to a wholesale partner, like a sporting goods store, the brand might only collect $50, while the store keeps the other 50.
That's standard wholesale math, yeah.
But if the brand sells that exact same shoe directly to the customer through their own app, they capture the full $100.
Exactly. And that is why the specific winners benefiting from this direct-to-consumer optimism are ticker NKE, Nike, and ticker PVH, which is the company behind brands like Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger.
So they get that sympathy bump.
They do. Nike trading higher after Levi's report is a perfect example of sympathy movement in the market. The market saw Levi's pricing power and immediately applied that logic to Nike's direct-to-consumer ecosystem.
Because the consumer behavior is the same.
Right. If consumers are paying a premium for denim directly from Levi's digital channels, investors assume they will likely continue paying a premium for footwear directly from Nike's digital channels.
Okay, so we have outlined the winning formula here. Full price sales, strong brand equity, youth demographic capture, and direct-to-consumer strength.
That's a recipe right now.
So if that is what the market rewards, we need to reverse the lens. What happens to the companies relying on sales and markdowns to move their inventory?
Well, that is where the danger lies right now. Levi's report was built around full-price sales and a vastly reduced reliance on discounting.
Right. They held the line on price.
Yeah. Consequently, promotion-heavy retailers face mounting pressure. The market currently prefers companies that protect their profit margins through brand strength rather than constant markdowns.
Because markdowns just eat into profits.
Absolutely. If investors become more selective with where they allocate capital, discount-driven names can lag substantially, even if the broader apparel group rises.
And the data gives us specific losers in this discount-driven category. Ticker GES, which is Guess, and ticker AEO, American Eagle Outfitters.
Yeah, those are the ones facing pressure.
Wait, let me stop right there because there is a glaring contradiction in the data for you to consider.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
American Eagle Outfitters, ticker AEO, was just discussed as a potential winner due to youth-focused momentum.
It was, yeah.
But now it is listed as a potential loser due to being a discount-driven retailer. How does a company manage to land on both lists simultaneously?
It is a phenomenal paradox, really, and it perfectly highlights the tightrope these retailers are walking.
So what's happening there?
American Eagle finds itself in a precarious balancing act. On one hand, they have excellent penetration with the Gen Z demographic. They dominate the teenage denim market, and their airy brand has tremendous product momentum.
Which is why they were on the winners list.
That fully justifies their placement on the winners list. However, their historical business model relies heavily on promotions.
You mean the constant buy one, get one 50% off signs?
Yes, exactly.
And the endless clearance events, the email blasts with massive discount codes?
Exactly. In a market actively rewarding full-price margin protection, that promotional reliance becomes a severe liability.
They are essentially trapped by their own sales tactics.
They really are. They have the right audience, but the market is questioning if they have the right pricing strategy to maximize their profits.
Because the customer is conditioned.
Right. When you train a customer to wait for a clearance event, you are actively destroying your own pricing power. Think about the psychology of the modern shopper.
Okay.
A customer might put $100 worth of clothing into their digital shopping cart, but instead of checking out, they abandon the cart and wait for the inevitable 40% off email to arrive in their inbox 3 days later.
Oh, I have definitely done that.
We all have.
So they have the attention of the right buyer, but they are training that buyer to hold their wallet hostage until the price drops.
Exactly.
It is a tough habit to break for both the retailer and the consumer. And speaking of tough habits, let us examine the traditional physical retail space.
The department stores.
Right. The department store dilemma is glaring right now, driven by a highly fractured consumer base.
The consumer backdrop is incredibly uneven. On one side, you have wealthier Gen Z and Millennial shoppers who are continuing to buy clothing and accessories at a healthy clip, primarily online.
Which we discussed with the direct-to-consumer winners.
Right. But on the other side, lower-income households are actively pulling back because of those higher living costs we discussed earlier.
And the specific losers exposed to this lower-income consumer softness are ticker M, Macy's, and ticker K, SSS, Kohl's.
Yeah, they are feeling the pressure.
I think the best framing for this situation is that we are looking at a tale of two wallets.
That's a good way to put it.
One wallet is paying full price for trendy jeans online without blinking. The other wallet is staring at a grocery receipt and deciding they have to skip the trip to the mall entirely just to cover basic living costs.
And that second wallet is the core demographic for many department stores.
Right. This explains the weaker traffic and the softer discretionary demand we are seeing at Macy's and Kohl's.
That tale of two wallets framing is exactly what is playing out. Department stores traditionally rely on a wide swath of middle to lower income consumers coming in for necessities and leaving with a few discretionary items on a whim.
The impulse buy.
Exactly. When that specific consumer is squeezed by inflation, overall foot traffic drops. And when foot traffic drops in a massive physical store, the financial math gets ugly very quickly.
Because of the rent.
Yes, they have high fixed overhead costs, rent, electricity, massive floor staff. To get cash-strapped consumers back in the door to cover those costs, the department store has to offer massive promotions.
Which destroys their profit margins even further.
It really does.
It is a downward spiral. And they're facing a structural disadvantage too, aren't they? We just talked about premium brands like Ralph Lauren pulling their inventory out of these stores to protect their brand image.
Yes, it is a double hit. You lose the premium high-margin inventory that draws in wealthier shoppers.
Right, because Ralph Lauren left.
And simultaneously, your core, lower-income customer loses their discretionary spending power. It leaves the department store stranded in the middle with lower quality inventory and a consumer base that demands steep discounts to make a purchase.
That paints a very tough picture for physical retail, but we cannot just assume the premium direct-to-consumer brands are immune to gravity.
Oh, absolutely not.
Moving from struggling business models, we need to address the hidden risks currently facing even the successful premium apparel companies. The data clearly outlines that winning today does not guarantee a smooth ride tomorrow.
Far from it. The reality is that even strong brands carry risk right now. The stock market operates entirely on forward expectations.
It's all about what's next.
Exactly. Today, the market is celebrating one exceptionally strong quarter from Levi. But market sentiment can turn instantly. Investors could easily start focusing on cautious forward growth expectations rather than that single strong quarterly report.
So, if expectations have moved up faster than the actual demand outlook, premium apparel names will see extreme volatility.
They definitely will.
The data points to specific losers if this valuation risk materializes. We are looking at ticker PVH, ticker VFC, which is VF Corporation, and ticker TPR, Tapestry.
All companies that have seen some optimism recently.
Let me ask you to explain the mechanics of this risk for you, the listener. If a stock price moves up faster than actual consumer demand, doesn't that mean these companies are being priced for absolute perfection?
Price for perfection is the exact industry terminology for this scenario.
Right.
Let us break down the mechanics of multiple expansion, which is what happens during these sympathy rallies. When investors see Levi winning, they assume companies like Tapestry or VF Corporation will win too.
Because they operate in similar premium spaces.
Right. So investors rush in and start buying stock today based on tomorrow's assumed profits. That buying pressure pushes the stock price up immediately, making the stock more expensive relative to what the company's actually earning right now.
So the valuation multiple expands because people are paying a premium today for a future that has not actually materialized yet.
Exactly. Investors are assuming the good news will continue seamlessly. But let us say Tapestry comes out next month and says, we had a solid quarter, we are still highly profitable, but we expect consumer demand to slow down by just 2% next year.
Just a tiny slowdown.
Yeah. The underlying business might still be very healthy, but because they did not meet the artificially elevated expectations set by the broader market optimism, the stock price gets punished severely.
The higher the pedestal the market puts you on, the farther you have to fall if your forward guidance is not absolutely flawless.
That's the danger.
Valuation pressure hits these specific tickers so hard precisely because they absorbed all the optimism from Levi's report without actually proving they earned it themselves yet.
That is exactly right. A sympathy rally is borrowed confidence. If the broader apparel group slows down even a fraction, those expanded valuation multiples will contract sharply, and the stock prices will drop to reflect the new, more cautious reality.
That makes total sense. As we wrap up this conversation, I want to summarize the clear dividing line we are seeing in the apparel sector right now for you, the listener.
This very sharp divide.
It truly is a tale of two vastly different retail environments. On one side, we see the overwhelming success of full-price, trend-led digital sales. Companies that command brand equity, capture the youth demographic with targeted merchandise, and protect their profit margins through direct consumer channels are winning.
Absolutely.
On the exact opposite side, we see the severe struggles of promotion-heavy, budget-sensitive physical retail. Department stores and discount-driven names are fighting an agonizing uphill battle against a fractured consumer base, rising living costs, and a market that penalizes reliance on constant markdowns.
It is a defining moment for the entire retail industry. And I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder on your own as you watch these companies navigate the coming quarters.
What's that?
We are seeing a structural evolution in how people buy clothes. If consumers are increasingly willing to pay full price exclusively through digital channels for specific trends, while simultaneously abandoning physical stores that rely on discounts, will the traditional massive physical footprint of a clothing store eventually become entirely obsolete?
That is the exact question every major retail executive is frantically trying to answer right now. Thank you for joining us today. This is not financial advice or buy or sell recommendations. This is purely the opinion of the author.